Mako is one of Orlando's most recognizable attractions, and to this day remains one of the best hypercoasters ever built. It was designed and manufactured by Balger and Mabillard, a Swiss company known for producing these huge, towering thrill rides packed with airtime. At this point, they've popped up all over the world, but I think here in Orlando, Mako is that shining example of what B&M is capable of. Some of the best floater airtime in the world can be found right here, propelling riders up out of their seat on these perfect parabolic hills in a ride experience that is both thrilling and comfortable. Mako made its debut in 2016 as SeaWorld Orlando's star attraction, standing 200 feet tall, which is to this day the tallest coaster in the city. When it opened, Mako really did a lot, not only for SeaWorld Orlando, but also just Orlando. It instantly received that icon status, something that you could see from the road. You can't miss it, and that further encouraged tourists to take a day away from their Disney or Universal vacations to come spend time at SeaWorld. Today, SeaWorld markets itself as the thrill capital of Orlando, and that can all be traced back, I think, to Mako. It came at a time when SeaWorld Entertainment was in a bit of a lull after backlash from Blackfish. Their last big roller coaster was Manta in 2009, and Mako marked that commitment to investment into SeaWorld, and at the time of its opening, I think it easily became the best coaster in Orlando. It is such a well-rounded experience that leaves you with a smile on your face as you're eager to get back in line. And in this review, I'm going to dive into that Mako ride experience, talk about each of those individual elements, what makes them work, what could have been better, and at the end, I'll give the ride a final score. I was fortunate enough to first experience Mako just a year after it opened. I remember actually seeing that B&M track in person at Claremont Steel Fabricators in Batavia, Ohio, where the ride was made, thinking, oh man, one day I'm going to get to do that. 2017 marked my first big trip to Orlando, and Mako was one of my most anticipated attractions. And it's pretty cool that all these years later, now as a resident of Orlando, I get to ride this whenever I want. Mako is easily one of my top ridden roller coasters in the world. And that's coming from someone that doesn't usually like marathon. I might do a couple laps at a time, but I'm not going to sit on a ride like all day. But the fact that I've managed to achieve triple digits with my Mako rides, I think one, shows how re-rideable the attraction is, but also how accessible it is. On almost any given day, you can hop on Mako with not much of a line at all. Assuming they're on two trains, which, don't get me wrong, there are plenty of times when they run one, you can typically get on with maybe a 5 to 10 minute wait. The main exceptions come if you go on like a particularly busy day, like on a Saturday during peak season or on a major holiday. For that reason, if you're planning a trip to SeaWorld Orlando to experience Mako for your first time, I highly recommend going for multiple laps because your ride experience will vastly differ the front of the train versus the back. In the front, you get launched up at the peak of these hills, and in the back, you get pulled over. But there truly is not a bad seat on this ride. But I'm getting ahead of myself. When you first arrive at SeaWorld Orlando, Mako is all the way in the back on the other side of the lake on the left-hand side. They positioned this ride so that the station was right off of the main pathway, but the layout itself would wrap around this retention pond, bumping up against International Drive, creating this cool crossover look with the nearby Kraken. As of when this video is being made, SeaWorld is home to 8 roller coasters, and this view right here with Kraken and Mako crossing is still the most picturesque part of the park. When Mako opened, it was part of a larger overhaul to theme up this area to sharks. They created this kind of wave effect with the signage. Different support columns have coral crusted over. You might even notice a shipwreck overhead. Anything to make you feel like you're underwater. And of course, Mako's finale flies out directly overhead, swooping out over the waterfront in this perfect photo finish before you hit the brake run. It's a great way to build excitement. The ride itself features an extensive queue, though I've never actually seen it filled. The longest wait is usually the stairway into the station, and this space was designed to feel like you're in a shipwreck. Now, I don't know if it actually really achieves that goal, but that was the idea. The biggest offender here is this screen that they put overhead of the loading zone, which is supposed to have sharks swimming above you. It was a really cool effect that would show the sharks swimming as you dispatch, and that hasn't worked in ages. It seems like every time they fix it, it then soon breaks again. And so seemingly they've given up on it, which is a shame. One thing I'm glad has stuck around though is the music cue that plays as you dispatch. This original audio actually follows you up the lift hill to help build anticipation. And likewise, if you're out on the pathway as Mako swoops out overhead, there's more timed music that is meant to line up with the train. And it's really cool. It's created this like mental association where when I think of Mako, I now subliminally hear that music. Mako gives a great view of the surrounding area. As you crest over, if you look out to the left-hand side, you can actually see not only the Orange County Convention Center, but Epic Universe all the way back there. Most of what you're staring at is just hotels, but before you know it, you're plunging down a 200-foot drop. An exact angle of descent has not been released, but it is very steep. I would guess somewhere in the 70-degree range. The profiling here is perfection. In the back, you are launched up out of your seat, building up speed to 73 miles per hour. There's a good amount of positive G's here as you rocket back up towards the sky in an element nicknamed the horseshoe. It's basically an overbank turn. You're angled in a way where you're like almost upside down. You enter the element straight ahead and then turn out of it where you're now facing 90 degrees to the left, where you enter the true like out and back portion of the layout. And I think this next hill is really what gets you. Probably the best camelback airtime hill in the world. Now, there's only so many variations you can come up with for a basic hill like this, but for whatever reason, with this 28-passenger train, it is angled in such a way that you not only like float up out of your seat, but you're really like pushed up out. Like that restraint is the only thing keeping you in place. And this is one of those hypercoasters that does not have a seatbelt. It is just the clamshell, so you feel very free and open. And if you happen to ride this when you have a little bit of room, it's kind of scary. It's insane how well this hill is profiled. I've done a lot of B&M hypers, and some of them, like some of the older ones, have these hills that just don't really do anything. And even on what could be considered a slow day, where it's kind of cold out, Mako still has some unbelievable airtime. As you drop down to the ground, you then rise back up into a hammerhead turnaround, suddenly an element name that is very fitting for a shark-themed ride. A very graceful, smooth transition, which is a running theme for this ride. At this point, Mako is almost 10 years old and is still glass smooth. I don't know what it is, but somehow they figured out how to keep this thing smooth when other parks weren't so lucky. It's one of those reasons why this ride is so comfortable for just about anyone to experience. Up next is another parabolic hill. This one is a bit different though because we actually have a set of trims on the ascent that kind of cause you to lurch forward a little, which kind of in a way adds to the airtime. So I'm one of those people that actually doesn't hate the trims on this ride. Though if you happen to ride this in the winter, because SeaWorld is open every day, if it's colder out, they'll turn the trims off, and that's super fun too. We got one more big hill. This one banks at the top, so as you rise up, you'll turn to the right, ducking underneath that horseshoe. So if you're sitting in the front seat, that's really where this hill will shine. And as you exit this turn, that's when we hit the speed hill. Probably the one airtime moment on this ride that hits different than the rest, purely because of how low you stay. I wish more B&M hypercoasters had a moment like this, because in this scenario, it works so well. And then you rise up into your mid-course brake run, experience a brief slowdown, and you enter your second half. And unfortunately, I think this is where Mako starts to fizzle out a little. There's one more traditional airtime hill that unfortunately just doesn't do a whole lot. Where those other moments are excellent, this is the one part of the ride where it's like, okay, what happened here? You can feel like the start of some negative G-forces, like it wants to send you up out of your seat, but nothing really happens. It's kind of one of those, oh, all right, moments, because the rest of the ride shows you what it's capable of, and then this part just doesn't quite get there. My prediction is they probably couldn't go any higher because of the speed that you have coming off of that mid-course, and they need to keep it stretched out so they can make that trip out over the water. So this hill is probably just the unfortunate result of placement. Luckily, the ending is fun. A right-handed bank out over the pathway, you switch directions to the left, diving towards the water, swooping up at ground level. On the left-hand side, you feel like you could reach your arm out and touch the water. And so for that reason, if you have to pick a side of where to sit, I would recommend the far left seat. I always reach my arm out to see if I can touch it, and I never can. But man, do you get close. And then from there, you gracefully enter the final brake run, concluding your ride experience. Mako is an extremely strong ride, a perfect addition to SeaWorld as well as all those families coming here to vacation. Not everyone wants a rip-your-face-off extreme roller coaster, though if they want that, they can go over to Islands Adventure and ride Velocicoaster, or to Epic Universe to ride Stardust Racers. Mako is tall and fast, but it's not going to be too much for people. There's a reason these rides have become crowd pleasers, and if you're going to build one in Orlando, the #1 tourist destination in the world, I'm glad this is the one that we got. Now, is it my favorite B&M Hyper? I probably lean slightly towards Shambhala at Portaventura, but it's close. I think they both have their strong suits. I think if I could improve anything for Mako, it'd definitely be the second half. One ride that I think perfected that finale is Candemonium at Hershey Park, which features an outer bank and a helix around the Kisses fountain. And it would have been cool to see some sort of maneuver like that here. But overall, I love what they came up with. For the ride's final score, I'm giving it a 9.5 out of 10. Even with all the new roller coasters that SeaWorld Orlando's installed, this ride is still king and a must-do when you come to town. So let me know down in the comments below what your thoughts are on Mako. Do you think there's anything I left out? Anything you disagree with? Post it all down below. And if you're new to Coaster Studios, please consider subscribing and checking out the Coaster Reviews playlist, packed full of roller coasters from all around the world. Go see if your favorite is on there. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time.